Who fixed my armor? Alien Queen Princess roared. A lone human engineer answers. Part 1. The throne room of the Kalari hive ship glowed with soft blue light that pulsed like a slow heartbeat. The walls were made of living stone, veined with light and warmth. The air smelled of metal and something sweet like burnt honey. Lisa Park stood alone in the center of the room, her hands clasped behind her back, her boots scuffed from weeks of crawling through narrow service tunnels. She kept her eyes down, as she had been taught, but her mind raced. Around her stood 20 Kalari warriors, tall insect-like beings with hard black shells and 6 limbs. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. Their claws rested on the hilts of energy blades. They did not move, they did not speak. They waited. At the far end of the chamber sat Princess Zyra on a throne grown from the ship itself. It curved around her like a protective shell. Her carapace shimmered with streaks of violet and silver. She was larger than the others, her presence heavy like a storm about to break. Then she moved with a single smooth motion. She rose from her throne. The sound of her armor clicking echoed through the chamber like stone grinding against stone. She stepped down from the dais, her long limbs moving with quiet power. Each step made the floor tremble slightly. Who fixed my armor? She hissed the words, sharp and cold like ice cracking. Lisa did not flinch. She had expected this. She had known it would come sooner or later. Did she? Said, her voice calm but not loud enough to challenge, just clear enough to be heard. A ripple of anger passed through the warriors. Their mandibles clicked in disapproval, but no one moved. They knew better. Zyra stopped just a few feet from Lisa. She loomed over the small human, her eyes burning with violet fire. You touched my battle shell without permission. Yes, you are not Kalari, you have no right. Saw the crack in your left shoulder plate during the fight with the Vorthax raiders. It was small but growing. Every time you moved, it spread a little more. If it had broken during your next jump, your neural core would have been exposed. You could have died. Zyra tilted her head, her antennae twitching slightly. You watched me, fighty. Monitor all ship systems, including external armor integrity during combat. It is part of my work. Your work, you are a prisoner, not a crew member. Lisa finally looked up, meeting the alien queen's gaze. I was pulled from the wreckage of my freighter. 3 weeks ago, you kept me alive because your life support systems were failing and your engineers could not fix them. I offered to help you. Let me, that was necessity. This is something else. This is maintenance, she said simply. The word hung in the air like a strange scent. The Kalari did not speak of maintenance as something important to them. It was a task for low-caste drones, not for warriors, not for royalty. Zyra studied her for a long moment, then spoke again. You used human tools on my armor. Our alloys reject foreign matter, they corrode. They weaken. I used a nano-welder set to match your molecular frequency. I also made a sealant from your own hive resin. I collected waste samples from the recycling bay and synthesized it in the lab. You made Kalari resin from what I could learn. Yes, the princess circled her slowly, her tail swaying behind her like a warning. You risked your life for. Melissa shook her head. Not exactly. I risked my job. If your armor failed during a jump, the whole ship could lose stability. The gravity field might collapse, the oxygen mix could go toxic. Lie, Zyra said, but her voice was less sharp now. Why did you do it? Lisa took a breath. Because you are not what they say you are. What do they say? That you are. Cruel, that you burn worlds, that you eat your enemies alive. And what do you see? I see a leader who fights only when she must, who shares food with her warriors before eating herself, who stops to honor her dead. Even the smallest drone you carry your people like a mother carries her young. Zyra stopped moving. She stood very still for a long time. Then she turned and walked back to her throne. She sat heavily. The living stone groaned softly beneath her weight. The council will demand your death. For touching royal armor without consent, then let them try. Lisa said, I have rerouted the main power grid through the secondary channels. If they try to lock me in a cell, the ship will lose artificial gravity and oxygen control in under 3 minutes. You would sabotage my ship. He would protect my life and my work. A low sound came from Zyra. Not quite a growl, not quite a laugh. You are either very brave or very foolish. Maybe both. The queen rose again, this time without anger. She walked to Lisa and held out her right arm, the one with the repaired pauldron. Touch it, she said. Lisa reached out slowly and placed her palm on the smooth black surface. It felt warm and alive. The repair was perfect. No ridge, no weakness, just seamless strength. You did well. Human, my name is Lisa. Then you will no longer be called prisoner. You will be named ship tender, a title no one has held in over 500 cycles. The warriors shifted but said nothing. Why me? Because you see the ship not as metal but as a living thing. You understand that it must be cared for. Not just use it. Lisa nodded. Thank you. But know this, if you ever betray my trust, I will remove your skin with my own claws. I would expect nothing less. Zyra turned to her. Warriors assign Lisa quarters near. The engineering corps give her full access to tools and materials and double her food rations. She has earned it. As the warriors left, Lisa stayed behind for a moment, watching the queen return to her throne. The light in the walls pulsed brighter, as if the ship itself was pleased. Later that night in her new quarters, Lisa sat on a soft mat woven from Kaolari silk. It adjusted to her body heat and felt like clouds beneath her. She opened her toolkit and cleaned her nano-welder. Her hands moved, without thought, but her mind was busy. Why had they kept her alive when they could have taken her organs for parts? Why had they given her so much freedom? And why had Zyra been so angry about a simple repair? The answer came slowly, like a signal rising. From static, the Kaolari were dying, not from war or sickness, but from stillness. Their technology had not changed in centuries. Their young were born fewer. Each generation, their queens grew weaker. Their ships older, their minds closed. They had not captured her for parts, they had captured her for hope. A hope they could not. Lisa looked at the wall where a small panel showed the ship's status: oxygen, stable gravity. Normal hull integrity, 100%. She smiled faintly. They needed more than fixes, they needed new ideas, and maybe she could give them that. The next morning, Lisa went to the engineering bay. A dozen Kaolari drones waited there, motionless, their many eyes fixed on her. She walked past them to the main console and pulled up the schematics for the hive ship's core. What are you doing? One drone clicked. Upgrading, she said. You cannot change royal architecture, watch. Mesh inserted a data chip she had spent all night making. It held a mix of human adaptive code and Kaolari biofeedback patterns. If it worked, the ship would heal small damage on its own, control temperature better, and even grow new power lines where old ones failed. If it failed, the core might melt and take half the ship with it. Lisa took a deep breath and started the upload. The lights flickered, the walls shivered, the drones backed away in alarm, but then the blue veins in the walls brightened, spreading from the core outward like roots finding water. The hum in the air changed, becoming smoother, deeper, more alive. It worked. A shadow fell over her. Lisa turned to see Zyra standing in the doorway, her expression unreadable. You changed my ship. I gave it a nervous system. The queen stepped forward and placed a claw on the console. The ship made a low purring sound beneath her touch, like a satisfied animal. You keep surprising me, Lisa Park, and you keep letting me. Zyra's mandibles moved in a way Lisa now knew meant amusement. Do not make me regret it. I will not. For days Lisa worked. The ship responded to her like a friend. Corridors widened slightly when she walked through them. Food dispensers began making meals that tasted almost like Earth food. Even the gravity softened in her room. The Kaolari began to watch her, not with suspicion, but with wonder. A young drone named Crix asked her how human ships flew without hive minds. Another brought her a small carved stone, a rare gift. Even the warriors nodded when she passed, but peace never lasts. The Vorthax came back, not as raiders this time, but as an armada. Hundreds of jagged black ships filled the sky. They sent a message: surrender your queen and all royal genetic material, or we will burn your hive. From the star, Zyra stood on the command deck. Her armor polished, her warriors, ready to die. Lisa stood beside her, not as a guest, but as part of the crew. You should hide, Zyra said. No, Lisa replied. I built the defenses too. The battle began with fire and noise. Plasma bolts lit the darkness. Kinetic shells slammed into the hive ships. Shields. The Kaolari fought hard, but the Vorthax were Manya. Direct hit struck the port stabilizer. The ship tilted hard, alarm screamed. Lisa ran not away, but toward the damage. She sealed the hallway behind her and began welding the broken wall with one hand while rerouting power with the other. Zyra watched through the ship's eyes, her heart tight with a feeling she did not understand. Fear for another. Lisa came out minutes later, covered in soot, her face dirty but smiling. The stabilizer held a eye, mixed your resin with the sealant and added a little human trick. Zyra placed a claw on her shoulder. You are more Kailari than you know. Lisa shook her head. No. I am human, and that is why I can help you change. The tide turned not with more weapons, but with cleverness. Lisa had taught the ship to fake damage, luring Vorthax ships into traps made of gravity wells and plasma echoes. The enemy tore themselves apart. When the last ship fled, the Kailari made a sound like, "Who fixed my armor?" Alien Queen Princess roared. A lone human engineer answers. Part 2 weeks passed, and life aboard the Kailari hive ship settled into a new rhythm. Lisa no longer wore the dull gray prisoner tunic. Instead, she was given a soft black suit woven with bio-threads that adjusted to temperature and healed small tears on their own. It was a gift from Zyra, a sign of trust. Every morning Lisa walked through the ship's main artery, a wide corridor that pulsed with light and warmth. The walls recognized her now. They glowed brighter as she passed. Drones bowed their heads. Warriors gave her space and sometimes even a nod of respect. She spent most of her time in the engineering corps, where she taught Kailari technicians how to think differently, not just follow old patterns, but ask why things worked and how they could work better. One day Crix, the young drone who had first spoken to her, brought a broken power relay. It sparked weakly in his claws. "This fails every 3 cycles," he said. Lisa took it and turned it over in her hands. The design was ancient, overbuilt, and rigid. She smiled. "You know what this needs? What a little chaos." Crix tilted his head, confused. "Chaos is not bad," she explained. "Sometimes systems get too stiff. They forget how to adapt. A little randomness helps them learn." She rewired the relay with a human microchip that introduced tiny variations in power flow. Not enough to cause harm, but enough to keep the system alert. When she plugged it back in, the relay hummed smoothly and the wall panel beside it brightened as if pleased. Crix made a soft clicking sound that Lisa had learned meant wonder. News of her work spread even to the lower decks where the oldest drones lived. They had not spoken to outsiders in decades, but one evening an ancient Kailari named Mael approached her in the food hall. His carapace was dull, his limbs slow with age. "You are the human who speaks to the ship," he said, his voice like dry leaves. "I try to listen more than speak." He studied her with milky eyes. "Our ancestors built this vessel with song and sacrifice. They sang to the metal until it grew warm and wise. But we forgot the songs. We only follow the old paths. Maybe it is time to make new songs." Mael nodded slowly, then turned and walked away. But the next day he left a small carved flute outside her door made from ship bone. It played notes that matched the hives whom Lisa kept it on her workbench. Meanwhile, Zyra watched from afar. She did not interfere, but she noticed everything. The way Lisa's ideas spread like roots through the ship. The way even the most stubborn warriors began asking questions. The way the ship itself seemed healthier, stronger, more alive. One evening, Zyra invited Lisa to the observation. "Blister a dome at the ship's bow where stars stretched endlessly in silence. You have changed us," she said, not as a question, but as a fact. "I only showed what was already there. No, you gave us permission to grow." They stood side by side, 2 different beings from different worlds looking at the same sky. "Do you miss your home, Lisa?" "Sometimes, but home is not just a place, it is people who care for you." Zyra was quiet for a long time, then she said, "My mother died when I was young. She was the last queen. To speak with the stars, the council says we must not change, that we must hold to the old ways or we will lose ourselves. But you do not believe that. I believe we are already lost if we do not change." Lisa smiled softly. "Then you are more human than you know." Zyra made a sound almost like a laugh. The peace did not last. A distress signal came from the outer rim. A Kailari colony ship. The last of its kind had been attacked not by the Vorthax but by something worse. The Silence Fleet. No one knew who. They were only that their ships left no signals, no debris, no survivors. They erased everything they touched. Zyra called an emergency council. The warriors gathered in the war chamber. Their usual calm replaced by tension. "We cannot ignore this, Zyra," said the colony ship carried the last fertile eggs of the southern hive. "If they are lost, our species may not recover. But the Silence Fleet is unknown. We have no data, no tactics," said a warrior named Vrex. Lisa stepped forward from the back of the room. All eyes turned to her. "We do not need to fight them head on," she said. "We need to understand them. How do you suggest we do that? Human 1, Vrek sneered. By listening. That night, Lisa worked in the core with Crix and Mail. They connected the ship's sensors to a new array built from human ecotech and Kalari resonance crystals. It could detect faint energy ghosts trails left by ships even if they tried to hide. After hours of tuning, the system pinged. There it is. She whispered a whisper of distorted space, a ripple where nothing should be. She traced the path on the star map. It led to a dead zone near the Black Rift, a place no ship dared enter. That is where they are hiding. Zyra said. We go there. Lisa said not to fight to learn. The journey took 3 days. The hive ship moved quietly, its new systems masking its heat and signal. The crew stayed silent. Even the walls dimmed their glow as they neared the Black Rift. The sensors screamed a warning. 3 Silence fleet ships appeared from nowhere, sleek black vessels with no lights, no markings. They moved like shadows. But Lisa was ready. She activated the Mimic protocol. The hive ship began broadcasting a false signal. A dying freighter lost and alone. One of the Silence ships turned toward them. No, she said. Zyra gave the order, and the hive ship dropped its disguise not with weapons but with sound. It played the ancient Kalari birth song. The one Mail had spoken of, a deep resonant tone that vibrated through space. The Silence ship froze for the first time. It responded not with attack but with a matching tone, low and broken. They are not enemies. Lisa realized they are survivors. She sent a simple message in pulses of light and sound. We mean no harm. The Silence ship replied with an image. A dying world, a sky burning, a people fleeing into the dark. They are refugees just like you were once, Zyra understood. Then she opened a channel. Not as a warrior, but as a queen. Speak with us. The Silence fleet lowered their shields. And from the lead ship a single figure emerged. Tall, thin, wrapped in dark cloth. Beneath it was a being with pale blue skin and eyes like cracked glass. They communicated through thought waves, soft and sad. We lost our home long ago. They sent we hide because others hunt us for our tech. They think we are weapons, we are only mourners. Lisa stepped forward on the view screen. I know what it is to be alone. The being looked at her, and for the first time in centuries they showed emotion. Hope. An alliance was formed, not with treaties but with trust. The Silence fleet shared their cloaking tech. The Kalari offered protection and a place to rest. Back on the hive ship, celebrations were quiet but deep. The old songs returned, sung by young and old alike. Zyra found Lisa on the observation blister again. You did it again, she said. Did what gave us a future? Liza shook her head. We all did. Zyra placed a claw gently on her shoulder. You are no longer just ship tender, Lisa Park. You are heart of the hive. Lisa looked out at the stars where 2 lost peoples now sailed together. Maybe home is not just people, she said softly. Maybe it is also the courage to reach out. Zyra did not answer, but she stood close enough that their shoulders almost touched. And in the quiet hum of the ship that was enough. The stars watched and the ship sang, and for the first time in generations the Kalari felt not like survivors, but like a people with tomorrow ahead of them. And at their center stood a small human woman who fixed more than armor. She fixed hope. Who fixed my armor? Alien Queen Princess roared. A lone human engineer answers. Part 3. The alliance with the Silence fleet brought peace, but also new questions. Who had destroyed their world? Why were they hunted? And most importantly, was the same threat coming for the Kalari? Lisa spent her days in the shared tech bay, where Kalari drones and Silence fleet engineers worked side by side. The Silence beings did not speak with voices, but with pulses of light from their skin and soft hums in the air. They called themselves the Ilarione. Ilari, named Nira, worked closely with Lisa. She moved slowly, her long fingers tracing circuits with care. She showed Lisa how their ships healed themselves using memory metal that remembered its shape, even after being torn apart. In return, Lisa taught them how to use feedback loops so their systems could learn from mistakes. You think like a builder, not a warrior. Nira sent through a translator node. I was never a fighter. Just someone who fixes things, but fixing things changes the world. Lisa smiled. Maybe that is the point. Meanwhile, Zyra met often with the Ilari elder, a being named Kale, whose body was wrapped in silver cloth. His eyes held centuries of sorrow. We were scientists once, Kale shared. Our world was called Vera. We built machines to clean our skies, but others saw power in them. They came with fire and took everything. Zyra listened carefully. Your enemies. They had markings. Yes, black suns on their hulls. A cold feeling settled in Zyra's chest. She knew that symbol. The Black Sun was an old human legend, but not from Earth, from the outer colonies, a group called the Iron Covenant. They believed only pure bloodlines should rule the stars, and they saw all others as weak, but humans were not supposed to have that kind of power unless someone gave it to them. Lisa heard the news and felt a chill. Humans were involved. It made sense. The Iron Covenant had been raiding fringe worlds for years, stealing tech and people. They called it cleansing. Have to warn the other colonies, Lisa said, but the Kailari are not welcome in human space. Zyra reminded her they fear us. Then we go quietly, Lisa said, like the Alariand. So they planned a mission, a small scout ship rebuilt with Alari cloaking and Kailari bioshielding. Lisa would pilot it with Crix and Nira. They would travel to the nearest human outpost and send a warning. Zyra did not like it, but she knew Lisa was right. Before they left, Zyra gave Lisa a small vial filled with glowing blue liquid. My blood, she said. If you are captured, drink this. It will link you to the hive. The ship will find you. Lisa took it and tucked it into her suit. Thank you. Do not die on me. Humani will try not to. The scout ship launched in silence, slipping past the stars like a shadow. It took 6 days to reach the outer rim colony of Haven, point a small mining station orbiting a red dwarf. They landed at night, the station quiet and dark too. Quiet. Lisa stepped out first, her boots crunching on frozen metal. The air smelled stale. No life signs on her scanner. They found the control room, empty chairs, overturned screens, dark, but no bodies. No blood, just gone. The Nira pointed to a wall symbol, scratched in haste, a black sun with a line through it. A warning. They were here, Lisa whispered. Suddenly alarms blared. Red lights flashed. The station was waking up, but not from power. From something else. Figures emerged from the vents, tall, thin, their skin pale, their eyes empty. They moved like puppets. Reapers, Lisa gasped. The Covenant slave soldiers. Humans turned into machines. Run, she yelled. They sprinted back to the ship, but the Reapers were fast, too fast. Crix tripped and fell. A Reaper grabbed his leg. Nira turned and fired a pulse of light from her palm. It stunned the Reaper long enough for Lisa to pull Crix up. They barely made it inside as the hatch sealed behind them. Back in orbit, Lisa checked on Crix. His leg was bruised but not broken. They are turning people into weapons, she said, her voice shaking. Nira sent a thought. They took our people too. Turned them into hunters. We could not save them. Lisa looked at the planet below, so small, so helpless. Then she made a decision. We are not leaving without a fight. But we are only 3, not anymore. She opened a secure channel and sent a coded message, not to Earth, but to a hidden network of rebel engineers and smugglers. She had known before the Odyssey went down, help is coming. She said 2 days later, 3 ships dropped out of warp, battered but armed, a freighter, a medical cruiser, and a modified scout, all flying. The broken gear symbol of the Free Tech Alliance. Among them was a woman named Dana Cruz, Lisa's old friend and former co-pilot. You got my message, Lisa said over comms. Took some convincing. But yeah, we came. Good, because I have a plant. They gathered in the scout ship. Lisa laid out her idea. The Covenant was using the station as a factory, turning captured colonists into Reapers. They had to destroy the control core, but not with bombs that would kill everyone inside. Instead, they would hack the system and send a reset pulse using a mix of Ilari resonance and Kailari biocode. It would shut down the Reapers without harming the humans inside. It was risky, but it was the only way. That night, they moved under cover of a solar flare. The Alliance ships created a distraction while Lisa, Nira, and Dana slipped inside the station. The halls were cold. The lights flickered. Reapers patrolled in silence. They reached the core room, a massive chamber, filled with pods, each holding a human suspended in blue fluid. Their eyes open but blank. Lisa's heart ached. She connected her device to the main terminal and began the upload. Halfway through, alarms screamed. The Covenant commander had arrived, a tall man in black armor, his face hidden behind a mask. You think you can undo our work, human? He said, his voice cold. I am not undoing, I am healing. He raised a weapon, but Dana shot first. Hitting his shoulder, he staggered back. "Finish it," Lisa Dana yelled. Lisa hit enter a wave of soft blue light spread through the station. The Reapers froze, then collapsed. The pods opened one by one. The humans inside gasped awake, confused but alive. The commander tried to rise, but Nira stepped forward and placed a hand on his chest. "You took their will," she sent. "You will know what that feels like." She pulsed a memory into him, not pain but loss. The feeling of being erased, he screamed. Then went still. Outside the station, the Alliance ships cheered. But Lisa knew this was only the beginning. The Covenant was still out there, and they would not stop back on the Hive ship. Zyra waited on the landing deck when Lisa stepped off. She did not speak. She simply pulled her into a careful embrace using only 2 arms, so as not to crush her. "You came back always." In the days that followed, the rescued colonists were given shelter. The Ilari helped them heal, the Kailari shared food and stories. Donna stayed too. She had seen enough to know the old human ways were broken. One evening, Lisa stood with Zira, Nira, and Dana on the observation blister looking at the stars. "We cannot hide forever," Lisa said. No, Zira agreed. "We must stand together, not as Kailari or Ilari or human, but as people who choose to care." Dana nodded. "I know others who feel the same." "Then we build something new," Lisa said. And so they did. They formed the first council of 3 species meeting. Not in war rooms, but in gardens, grown from ship walls. They shared knowledge, not weapons. They healed, not conquered. Lisa still fixed things, but now she also taught. She showed young Kailari how to ask questions. She helped Ilari children learn to speak with sound and not just light. She even set up a workshop where human kids could build toys from scrap. Oni Day. A small Kailari child brought her a broken music box. "Can you fix it?" Lisa smiled. Of course, as she worked. The child watched with wide eyes. "Why do you help us?" "Because someone once helped me." "Woa Queen who roared at me for fixing her armor." The child laughed a sound like bells. Lisa looked up and saw Zira watching from the doorway, her eyes soft with pride. The ship hummed around them. Not just a vessel, but a home. Not just a hive, but a family. And in the quiet glow of the stars, Lisa Park knew she had found not just a place to belong, but a purpose to build a future where no one had to be alone again. "Who fixed my armor?" Alien Queen Princess roared. A lone human engineer answers. Part 4 peace lasted longer this time, but Lisa knew it would not last forever. The Iron Covenant had been hurt but not broken. Their black sun symbol still appeared on distant comms. Their slave raids slowed but did not stop, and whispers came from the edge of known space of a new weapon. One that could silence entire worlds. Lisa spent her days in the shared workshop where Kailari drones, Ilari light weavers, and human mechanics worked side by side. Tools clinked, voices mixed, and the air smelled of oil, warm metal, and something sweet. The Ilari called Star Blossom Tea. She was teaching a group of young ones how to build a simple sensor when Crix rushed in, his carapace clicking with urgency. "Princess Zira calls for you now." Lisa wiped her hands and followed him to the war chamber. Not a place of battle anymore, but a meeting hall with soft light and living vines curling up the walls. Zira stood at the center, a star map floating above her, glowing red in one sector. "The Covenant has found the Silence Fleet's old homeworld." She said. "They are digging." "Why?" "Because they believe the source of Ilari tech is still there. A core that can rewrite matter itself." Nira, who stood nearby, trembled slightly. "That core was sealed for a reason. It is not a tool. It is a memory of our world. If they wake it without understanding, it will burn them, and everything near them. We stop them." Lisa said. "How? They have a full war fleet, and a shield that blocks all scans." Lisa looked at the map, then at Nira. "Do you still hear it?" Nira closed her eyes. "Yes, faintly, like a heartbeat under stone." "Can you guide us there?" "I can." Zira turned to Lisa. "You would go back to that dead world. Someone has to." And so the plan began, not with armies, but with a single ship. The Sky Root, a vessel grown from Kailari biohull and wrapped in Ilari cloaking. It carried no weapons. Only hope and 3 passengers, Lisa, Nira, and Dana. They left at dawn, the hive, ship's walls glowing softly in farewell. The journey took 10 days through silent space where stars seemed to hold their breath as they neared Vera, the Alari homeworld. The sky turned gray, the planet scarred by fire and time. They landed in the ruins of the capital city, towers bent like broken bones. The air thin and cold. Nira led them through the rubble to a great dome half buried in ash. This is the heart chamber. She sent inside. The walls pulsed with faint blue light. The floor was made of smooth stone etched with symbols that glowed when Nira touched them. The core is below, she said, but the entrance is sealed. Only a true Ilari can open it. Then why bring me? Lisa asked. Because the Covenant has a key too. A stolen one made of pain. They will force it open and break the balance. We have to get there first. They descended through winding tunnels, the air growing warmer, the hum stronger until they reached a vast chamber. In the center floated a sphere of light, shifting colors like a living dream. This is the world seed, Nira whispered. It holds the memory of Vera, its sky, its oceans, its people. Before Lisa could speak, the ground shook. They are here. Covenant soldiers poured into the chamber, led by a new commander taller than the last. Her armor lined with red veins, she carried a black rod crackling with stolen energy. You are too late, little builders, she sneered. The seed will be ours. She jammed the rod into a socket on the wall. The chamber screamed. The seed flickered violently. No, Nira cried. Lisa saw what was happening. The Covenant was trying to drain the seed, not to use it, but to weaponize it. Turning memory into a bomb, think. She told herself. What fixes a broken memory? Not force, not steel, but care. She turned to Dana. Give me your pulse emitter. Dana handed it over without question. Lice. Connected it to her tool belt, then to Nira's wrist link, and finally to the chamber wall. What are you doing? I am not going to stop them. I am going to remind the seed who it is. She activated the device not with code but with sound. She played the Kalari birth song, the Ilari morning hum, and a human lullaby. Her mother used to sing. The seed glowed brighter. The Covenant commander laughed. You think songs can stop power? Lisa did not answer. She just kept playing. The seed pulsed once, then again, stronger. The commander raised her weapon, but the ground beneath her cracked. Light shot up, wrapping around her legs. The seed was waking, not in anger, but in sorrow. It showed her visions not of war, but of what was lost. A child's laugh, a sunset over Vera's sea, a garden in full bloom. The commander dropped her weapon, tears streaming down her face. I forgot, she whispered. I forgot what we were trying to save. The rod shattered. The chamber fell. Silent, Nira stepped forward and placed a hand on the seed. It is safe now, but the Covenant fleet still orbits above. Lisa said. Not for long. Nira sent a pulse from the seed. Not a weapon, but a message of truth. It spread through space, touching every mind. On every ship, some ships turned and fled. Others powered down their weapons one by one. The black suns went dark on the surface. The commander knelt, not in defeat, but in grief. Lisa walked to her. Take this, she said, handing her a small data chip. It has records of Vera before the fire. Maybe your people need to remember too. The woman looked at her with wet eyes. Thank you. Back on the sky route. Dana let out a long breath. That was the strangest battle I ever saw. We did not fight. Lisa said we healed when they returned to the hive ship. Zyra waited not in the war chamber but in the garden where new trees grew from Kalari wood and Ilari. Light, you brought back more than peace. Zyra said, you brought back memory. And memory is the start of change. In the weeks that followed, the former Covenant commander, now called Elin, joined the council. She spoke of reform within human space, of colonies. Tired of fear and control, more ships came not to fight, but to learn. Lisa's workshop grew into a school where children of all kinds built not weapons but bridges, greenhouses and music boxes that played songs from 3 worlds. One evening as stars filled the sky, Lisa sat with Zira, Nira, Dana, and Elin on the observation blister. Do you think it will last? Lisa asked. No one answered right away. Then Zyra spoke. Not because we are strong, but because we choose to care every day. Nira added, and because we listen. Dana smiled, and because someone fixed more than armor. She fixed the way we see each other. Elin looked down at her hands, once used to command, now learning to plant seeds. I am glad I was broken so I could be remade. Lisa leaned back, feeling the hum of the ship beneath her. It was not just a sound. It was a promise, far away on a quiet colony. A child opened a music box and heard a lullaby mixed with a hum and a song and smiled. The stars watched, and for the first time in a long time they did not see war. They saw hope growing like a vine through the dark, and at the heart of it all was a small, human woman who never meant to be a hero. She just wanted to fix what was broken, and in doing so she helped heal the future. The end. Who fixed my armor? Alien Queen Princess roared. A lone human engineer answers. Part 5 months had passed since the seed of Vera had spoken, and the galaxy felt different. Not perfect, but softer. Like a wound, finally beginning to heal. New outposts rose where old battlefields once lay, and ships from 3 species now flew side by side under a shared banner. A circle woven from Kailari Shaitin. Ilari Light and human Steelisa still lived aboard the hive ship, but her quarters had grown into a small home filled with gifts, a carved flute from Mael, a glowing stone from Nira, a patchwork blanket from Dana stitched with fabric from a dozen worlds. She spent her mornings in the school teaching young ones how to build with care, not just with hands but with heart. One day a human boy named Leo asked why she never went back to Earth. Earth is far, she said, and I am needed here. But don't you miss it? Sometimes she smiled, but home is not just a planet. It is the people who wait for you when you come back, and they do wait. They do. That afternoon a signal came not from the edge of space but from deep within Kailari territory. A distress call, old and faint, repeating the same 3 notes over and over. Zyra recognized it at once. It is the Queen's Dirge, a song only played when a royal bloodline ends. But there are no other queens, she said, her voice tight, unless there is one we forgot. Records showed a lost hive ship the Dawn Maw sent centuries ago to explore the void beyond the black rift. It had vanished with a young princess aboard, never heard from again. Now it was calling. We must go, Lisa said. Zyra nodded, but her eyes were heavy with fear. What if it is a trap? Then we face it together. They prepared the sky route again, not for war, but for witness. Lisa brought tools, not weapons. Nira brought memory crystals. Dana brought rations and quiet courage. The journey took 2 weeks through space, so empty. It felt like sailing through sleep. Stars were few and far between. And the silence pressed against the hull like a weight. Then they saw it. The Dawn Maw floated in the dark. Its hull cracked, its lights dim, but still breathing a slow, steady pulse, like a sleeping giant. They docked carefully. The airlock opened with a sigh of old metal inside. The ship was cold but clean. No signs of battle, no decay, just stillness. They followed the hum to the heart chamber, where a single figure sat on a throne of woven bone. Her carapace dull, her limbs thin with age, but her eyes glowed faintly. Violet, like Zyra's Princess Viola, she whispered, her voice like wind through dry reeds. You have come. Zyra stepped forward, bowing low. I am Zyra, daughter of Queen Soren. Viola smiled, a sad, gentle thing. I am the last of the old line. I waited so long. Why did you not return? Our ship was damaged beyond repair. The rift tore our engines and our minds. We lost time, we lost hope, but I kept the hive alive with songs and silence. Lisa saw it. Then the ship was not dead. It was in stasis, held together by the will of one old queen. You are not alone anymore, Lisa said. Vela looked at her, human eyes so small, so bright. You are the one they speak of. The fixery. Trivela reached out a trembling claw. Lisa took it gently. Help me wake the ship. Lisa nodded and got to work with Crix and Nira. They traced the dormant circuits, cleared the clogged bioveins, and sang the old songs into the walls. Slowly the Dawn Maw began to breathe again. Lights flickered, then glowed, corridors warmed. The hum returned stronger as the ship woke, so did its crew. Hundreds of Kailari who had slept for centuries stepped from their pods, confused but alive. Tears streamed down Zyra's face. She had thought her people were fading. But here was proof they could endure. Vela stood with help from Lisa and walked the halls of her ship one last time. I will not live long, she said, but my hive will. She named Zyra, heir to the Dawn Maw's legacy, not as a ruler but as a bridge between old and new. Before they left, Vela gave Lisa a small vial filled with golden resin. This is the first hive song made solid. Keep it safe. Lisa tucked it into her pocket. Thank you. On the return journey, the sky route carried not just passengers, but hope, a whole hive reborn. When they arrived, the council gathered not in a hall but in the great garden where trees from 3 worlds grew together. Vela spoke, her voice weak but clear. We were taught that strength is in silence and holding still. But you have shown us that strength is also in change, in reaching out and fixing what is broken. She placed a claw on Lisa's shoulder. You did not just repair armor or ships, you repaired us. That night, there was no feast, but a quiet sharing of stories. Elders spoke of lost worlds. Children asked questions, and for the first time in memory, Kailari, Alari, and humans slept under the same sky. Without fear, days turned into weeks and life settled again. But Lisa felt a restlessness, not of wanting to leave, but of wanting to build more. She began a new project, a ship not grown, not built, but woven a vessel that would carry teachers. Not soldiers, healers, not warriors. Dana called it the Mendernira, helped design its core using light that could soothe wounded mind scricks, and the young drones shaped its hull with living wood that healed itself, and Zira gave it a name in the old tongue. Arivis, meaning gentle Hondas. They worked. Lisa often stood on the observation blister watching the stars. You are thinking again, Zira said, joining her, about how small we are, she said, and how big the work still is. But we are not small when we stand together. No, Lisa smiled. We are not. One morning, a new signal came. Not a distress call, but a question from a distant system on the far rim. A group of free colonies asked if they could join the council. Lisa looked at Zira, who looked at Nira, who looked at Dana. Send them the song, Lisa said. And so they did, a message made of music memory, and light sailed into the dark, not to conquer, but to invite. Weeks later, the first of the new allies arrived, not in warships, but in freighters filled with seeds, books, and children. Lisa met them at the dock. A young woman stepped forward, her hands calloused from work, her eyes full of hope. We heard you fix things. Lisa smiled. We try. The woman held out a broken tool. Can you show us how? Lisa took it and nodded. Come with me. As they walked toward the school, the sun rose over the hive ship, its walls glowing with life. The mender floated nearby, almost ready. In the distance, the stars watched, not as cold points of light, but as witnesses to something rare and fragile. A future built not on power, but on care, and at the heart of it all stood Lisa Park. Not a queen, not a warrior, but a builder who taught the galaxy that the strongest thing in the universe is not a weapon, but a hand held out in kindness. The end.